11 games in, the Bombers sit in 13th position, 2 games out of the 8. What have you made of their first half of the year?
I think the first 3 weeks were really good. I thought the Sydney performance was fantastic. Just ran out of probably match fitness in the end in that last quarter. Then to beat Hawthorn's probably obviously the highlight of the year so far. At the fight back late in that last quarter. Carlton did the job there. They came back hard late, and then probably since then it's been a real struggle. Anzac Day, probably were beaten in an arm wrestle. And then aside from that, it's probably just been a bit of lack of class, lack of ball movement, and then obviously killing ourselves in the foot in a sense with bad kicking at goal against Geelong and also Richmond. So I think there's probably been one non-acceptable performance that was against Geelong. So I think the effort overall has been quite good, but the inability to score in the front half probably stand out. Probably ranked 16th, 17th for overall scoring, which has been a real issue this year.
Obviously, I would have liked a few more wins, but are there any players who have stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the highlight for mine, I've raved about the back line all year. I think they can still probably use the ball a little bit more aggressively out of the back line by using the corridor. But in terms of the one-on-one contests, Hurley, he's been my All-Australian fullback to this halfway mark. I think Hooker's not far off himself by being the centre-half back. I've really liked Bagley's season. Just probably goes under the radar, but he's been fantastic. I think from the kids, Zach Merritt, I think would be probably top 3 or 4 in the best and fairest with his consistency. And then I suppose Collier probably needs to find a bit more of the footy, but when he does win it, he's been pretty explosive. So they're probably some of the highlights this year of the season.
So scoring's been a bit of an issue, but does that come back to another issue that you've mentioned, the ball movement and the execution of the skills through the middle? Will fixing that fix the scoring?
I think it's a combination of everything, Simon. I think that ball movement is definitely one thing. Against the West Coast Eagles, to have over 400 possessions and get 35 inside 50s, that's telling you that probably the corridor needs to be used a little bit more rather than going wide. But there's no doubt the forward line hasn't worked so far this year. Not for a lack of, in terms of the structures, but more the personnel in there is probably just not ready. There's probably Joey's really working hard. I think his work rate's gone up 20-30%, but he's lightly framed and he's getting the best defender, where probably as a 30-game player, that's something that probably shouldn't happen early on, but you just got to deal with what you've got. Jake Carlisle didn't have a great pre-season, so you think he'll have a much better second half to the year, and Ambrose is working hard but just hasn't hit the scoreboard yet. So I think that's something that the coaching staff will really look at, to reinvent that forward line, to spark it up and see if you can invent some goals like Edwards did against West Coast.
Hocking, Myers, Winderlick and Zaharakis have pretty much, they've only played 6 games between them this season. What impact do you think those key players coming back into the side can have on the way home?
Well, it's going to be tough for Heath Hocking when you have a limited pre-season and then you miss the first half of the year. It's pretty hard, but his grunt will be fantastic to have back in the side. Zaharakis is really important. He's the best and fairest winner. Winderlick, I think, whether it be forward or back, just creates so much through his leg speed, decision making. He's like a coach having out on the ground, so I think he's one that it'll be great to have back in the side. But every side's got injuries, so it's not, you can't use that as an excuse. But no doubt it'll really help come the back half of the season.
They can upgrade Sean McKernan now. Do you think he'll get a crack after some impressive VFL form? But obviously Tom Bellchambers played well in the last VFL game as well.
I think the strength of any side is competition for spots, and now Sean can be available for pretty much all the second half of the season is fantastic. I think he's finally starting to believe, after probably 6 years in the system, that he belongs at AFL level. Dominating at VFL level now. He showed some good signs in his one AFL game for Essendon this year. So he, Giles, Bellchambers, obviously Jake Carlisle. So there's some options there. I think it can only get better this second half of the season, but got some big games after the break. Hawthorn, but then some winnable games against St Kilda and Melbourne, which will really show James and the staff where this group is at moving forward for next year.
And we'll look ahead to those games, including the Hawthorn game early next week. Thanks a lot, Lloyd.
Yeah, thanks, Simon.